Ever feel like you're just stuck, on that treadmill,
Uh,
going nowhere, trying to find happiness,
yeah.
but never quite getting there?
Oh, yeah.
Well, today we're taking a deep dive into Siddhartha, a book by Hermann Hesse,
hmm
and it's a classic for a reason. We're going to figure out why.
It really explores that feeling of searching for meaning, the allure of all the different paths we could take in life, and ultimately that question, what truly brings us fulfillment?
Exactly. And we follow Siddhartha on his journey. He starts off as a young Brahmin,
Right.
which is like a spiritual prince living a pretty privileged life.
He really does have it all.
Yeah.
Something's missing.
He has loving parents, access to knowledge, a comfortable life, everything that most people would want. But still, he feels this emptiness, this yearning for something deeper than all the rituals and traditions.
It's like an itch you can't scratch.
Yes.
It's like an existential itch.
And it leads him to make a pretty radical decision. He decides to leave it all behind. Family, social standing, every single thing.
To join these wandering ascetics, the samanas,
Oh,
who practice extreme self-denial and meditation.
like hitting the reset button.
Basically.
Okay, so he goes from a life of luxury to basically, what, living in the forest
Pretty much.
as a monk. It really makes you think, what would we be willing to sacrifice to find meaning in our own lives?
Right. That's the big question that Siddhartha is wrestling with.
Yeah.
And his time with the samanas is really interesting. He completely masters their techniques, pushes himself to the limit, physically and mentally.
Wow.
But eventually he realizes that even though he's denying all of his physical desires,
Right.
his sense of self, his ego, is still very much there.
It's like you're trying to outrun your shadow.
Exactly. No matter how fast you go, it's always right there with you.
So what's the lesson here? Can we ever truly escape ourselves?
Well, that's the paradox, right? True liberation isn't about suppressing everything we want or running away from who we are. It's about understanding the self and how it plays into our search for enlightenment. And you know what? This realization leads him to a very important encounter.
Oh.
The Buddha.
Whoa. He meets the Buddha.
He does.
I wonder, how would you react if you were face to face with an enlightened being like that?
I don't even know. It would be life-changing. But here's the thing about Siddhartha. Even after seeing how enlightened the Buddha is,
Right.
he chooses not to follow him.
Wow.
He recognizes the Buddha's wisdom,
Yeah.
but he feels that enlightenment can't be taught. It has to be experienced.
So he's basically standing before the Buddha, this incredibly wise being, and he's like, thanks, but no thanks.
Exactly.
That is bold.
It takes so much courage to walk away from a path that everyone says is the right one, especially when it promises enlightenment.
Right.
But this shows us just how independent Siddhartha is and how committed he is to finding truth through his own experience.
It makes you think about all those times we just accept things without questioning, or we follow certain paths because everyone says they're right.
Mm-hmm.
Siddhartha's choice is a good reminder that we should question things.
Absolutely.
Seek our own understanding.
Yeah.
Trust our gut.
It's all about figuring out if we're living by our own internal compass or just going along with what everyone else expects of us. Siddhartha challenges us to take a look at what we believe and see if those beliefs truly resonate with who we are at our core.
That's a big question. And speaking of big questions, after he rejects the samanas and the Buddha's teachings,
Right.
Siddhartha goes in a totally different direction.
He does.
He dives headfirst into a world of pleasure and success.
He goes from a life of extreme austerity to embracing everything the senses have to offer.
Wow, what a change.
He becomes a wealthy merchant. He learns about love from this courtesan named Kamala, and he just indulges in every material comfort he can find.
It's like he's trying on different hats, different identities, seeing what fits.
Yeah, like experimenting.
Which is something we can all relate to, especially when we're younger. Trying different things, exploring new parts of ourselves, always trying to find that feeling of being complete.
Exactly. But the question is, does he find it? Does he find what he's looking for in this life of luxury? I guess we'll have to find out in part 2 of our deep dive into Siddhartha.
We say, ready to explore a little further.
I'm definitely curious to see where this journey takes us next.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Siddhartha. Last time, we left off with Siddhartha, fully immersed in that world of sensual pleasure and material wealth. Quite a change from where he started.
Yeah, it really was. It's like he went from one extreme to the other,
Totally.
from self-denial to just complete indulgence.
Right.
But did he find what he was looking for? Did he find happiness?
Well, he became very successful in the material world.
Yeah.
He mastered the art of business. He experienced all those sensual delights.
Okay.
But as time went on, this emptiness started to creep in. He realized that even with all these accomplishments and experiences, something was still missing. So he's basically winning at the game of life, at least by society's standards. But he still feels empty. It's like that saying, you can have everything you ever wanted and still feel empty.
It's so true. And that emptiness, that yearning for something more, is what leads Siddhartha to yet another turning point. He has this incredibly vivid dream about a beautiful singing bird that suddenly dies. And this dream becomes a powerful symbol of the death of his old life, the realization that this path, this way he's been living, isn't actually leading him to true fulfillment.
A dead bird as a symbol of a new beginning.
Right.
Not the most cheerful image.
It is interesting.
But I feel like there's got to be a deeper meaning here.
Oh, absolutely. The image of death in a lot of spiritual traditions.
Right.
It represents transformation, rebirth.
Okay.
So the bird's death in Siddhartha's dream, it symbolizes him letting go of his attachment to those material possessions, to those sensual pleasures. It's like clearing the way for a more meaningful existence. A recognition that true happiness doesn't come from outside things. It has to come from within.
It's like hitting rock bottom, but then realizing you need to make a change.
Yeah. Even though it's scary.
Right. Even though it's uncertain.
Exactly.
So what does Siddhartha do? Does he go back to the samanas?
Well, he does something even more unexpected.
Right.
He leaves everything behind.
Wow.
His wealth, Kamala, his entire life as a merchant. He feels this pull, this deep intuition, drawing him back to a river he crossed years earlier.
The river.
Yeah.
It seems like the river keeps showing up throughout the story.
It does, doesn't it?
It's almost like a character itself.
Right.
What is it about the river that keeps drawing him back?
I think the river represents that continuous flow of time, the way everything's connected, that ever-changing nature of reality. It's a symbol of life itself.
I like
with
that.
all its ups and downs, its twists and turns, and ultimately flowing into this vast ocean of being.
And it's at the river that he meets Vasudeva, the ferryman, right?
Yes.
What's so important about that meeting?
Well, Vasudeva becomes Siddhartha's teacher and guide, but not in the traditional sense. He doesn't give Siddhartha teachings or doctrines.
So what does he do?
He teaches him the art of listening. Not just listening to words, but listening to the river itself, to nature, to the silence within.
Learning from a river.
Right.
That's such a powerful image. It suggests that wisdom can be found anywhere if we just open ourselves up to it.
It's true. It's about quieting our minds, getting rid of all that mental chatter, and opening ourselves to those subtle whispers of wisdom that are all around us.
That's beautiful.
Siddhartha, he learns to observe the river, its ebb and flow, its changing moods.
Right.
And through that observation, he begins to understand time, change, and how everything is connected.
It reminds me of mindfulness, being present in the moment.
Yes.
Paying attention to our senses.
We get so caught up in our thoughts and worries that we miss the beauty and wisdom that's right in front of us.
So true. Siddhartha's time with Vasudeva is like a reminder to slow down, to listen deeply, and find wisdom in the simplicity of just being. And this leads us to another really important meeting. Siddhartha's reunion with his childhood friend, Govinda.
Oh, right, Govinda. He became a follower of the Buddha, right?
He did.
I imagine this meeting was pretty intense.
Oh,
considering their different paths.
It was a fascinating encounter full of symbolism and contrasting philosophies. You see, Govinda, after all these years studying the Buddha's teachings, he was still searching for that ultimate answer.
Really?
Oh, yeah. He'd heard these rumors about a wise ferryman.
Okay.
And he was surprised to find out that it was Siddhartha.
Wow. It's like those moments when you run into someone from your past.
Yeah.
And you realize how much you've both changed.
It is.
But you still have that shared history. Absolutely. And their reunion turns into this deep conversation about truth, enlightenment, the different paths we take to reach spiritual awakening.
I bet Govinda was confused.
He was.
Here he is, following this traditional path. And Siddhartha seems to have found a different way. one that doesn't fit into any neat little box.
And that's the beauty of it, you know?
Yeah.
Siddhartha, in his own way, explains that you can't teach true wisdom.
Right.
It can only be experienced.
I
He
figured.
challenges Govinda's attachment to these doctrines, emphasizing the importance of finding your own unique path to truth.
It's like no matter how wise or well-intentioned an ideology is,
Right.
blindly following it can lead you away from your own truth.
Exactly.
It's about taking what you know and combining it with your experience.
Yeah.
Understanding that there's no one-size-fits-all when it comes to enlightenment.
Mhm.
It's a deeply personal journey.
It really is. And Siddhartha, he's not just talking about these ideas, he's lived them. He's gone from extreme asceticism to embracing all those worldly pleasures.
Yeah.
And it's through all those different experiences that he's come to understand just how multifaceted reality truly is.
It's like he's not saying, I have all the answers.
Right.
He's just sharing his insights from his own life.
Exactly.
Which is so much more powerful than just repeating what someone else has said.
I agree. But how do you think Govinda reacted to all this? Did he just accept Siddhartha's perspective right away?
Well, I mean, Govinda was deeply devoted to the Buddha's teachings.
He was.
So I'm sure he struggled to reconcile Siddhartha's ideas with his own understanding of enlightenment.
Yeah. It probably felt like two ships passing in the night,
Right.
each on their own journey,
Yeah.
but still connected by that shared yearning for truth.
It must have been a challenging conversation for both of them.
It was, but there's this turning point in their interaction
Okay.
where Govinda's perspective shifts.
What happens?
Govinda, still searching for something concrete,
Yeah.
something to hold on to, he asks Siddhartha for some wisdom, some
Mhm.
teaching to guide him.
Right.
And Siddhartha's response is so unexpected.
What does he do?
He just smiles.
Wait, he smiles? That's it. No secret mantra.
No.
No hidden scroll of wisdom. Just a smile.
But it's not just any smile.
Okay.
It's a smile that holds so much understanding,
Mhm.
a merging of everything, a glimpse of that unity that goes beyond time and form.
Oh.
And Govinda, in that moment, has this profound revelation.
So it's like Siddhartha communicated a truth that goes beyond words.
Exactly.
Something you can only experience through direct perception.
Yes. It makes you think about how often we try to grasp on to concepts and ideas,
We do.
when sometimes the most profound wisdom is right there in the simplest of gestures.
That's beautiful. Are you ready to explore the final stages of Siddhartha's journey to find out what ultimately leads him to enlightenment?
Absolutely. Let's dive in.
Welcome back to our deep dives into Siddhartha. Last time we were talking about Govinda and how his perspective on enlightenment really shifted when he saw Siddhartha's smile.
It was a powerful moment.
Yeah, but as we know, life is rarely straightforward, even for someone like Siddhartha.
You're right about that.
So his journey isn't over just yet.
Not quite.
He actually faces one final, unexpected challenge.
He does.
And this one really tests everything he's learned.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
And it comes in the form of his son.
Wait, Siddhartha has a son.
He does.
I don't remember that part.
Well, before Kamala passes away, remember Siddhartha's former lover?
Oh, right.
She sends their son to live with him by the river.
Wow, so Siddhartha, who's found all this peace and detachment through nature,
Yeah.
is suddenly dealing with fatherhood?
It's like the universe throwing him a curveball.
Totally. Like saying, all right, you've mastered listening to the river, now let's see how you do with human relationships.
Exactly. And it's not easy for him.
I can imagine.
His son grew up in luxury, so he struggles to adapt to his father's simple lifestyle.
And to his profound wisdom, I bet.
Right. He rebels,
Oh, no.
runs away,
That's gotta be hard.
breaks Siddhartha's heart.
Wow.
This part always gets to me.
Me too.
It reminds us that even the most enlightened people still experience pain and suffering, especially when it comes to the people they love.
That's so true. It shows us that enlightenment doesn't make us immune to the challenges of being human.
Right.
Siddhartha's struggles with his son force him to confront those attachments he still has, those lingering desires and the remnants of his ego.
It's like he's learned to let go of material things
Right.
and sensual pleasures, but he's still clinging to the idea of controlling his son's life.
It's like that saying, we can only truly let go of something once we've held on to it with all our might.
Exactly. And it's through this process, this difficult process of letting go, of accepting his son's choices, even though they hurt, that Siddhartha finally achieves true enlightenment.
He realizes that love isn't about possession or control.
It's about acceptance.
Yes, it's about allowing others to find their own way, even if it means they're going to suffer.
It's such an important lesson, especially for parents.
It really is.
It's about understanding that Everyone has their own journey,
Hmm.
and we can't shield our loved ones from pain or try to control their choices.
Right.
All we can do is love them, support them, and trust that they'll find their own way.
And by letting go of his son, Siddhartha lets go of the last parts of his ego, the part that still wanted to be in control.
He surrenders.
He does, and he fully embraces the flow of life, the interconnectedness of all beings, the wisdom of the river.
So it's through loss and surrender that he finally reaches enlightenment, the thing he'd been searching for all along.
It seems like it.
It's interesting how sometimes the path to joy leads us through our deepest sorrows.
It is. And it's by embracing all of it, the good and the bad, that we can truly awaken to our own inner wisdom.
This deep dive into Siddhartha has been amazing.
It has.
We've covered so much: self-discovery, the different paths we can take, enlightenment, the power of letting go.
And so much more.
What do you think are some key takeaways for our listeners? Things they can apply to their own lives,
Well, Siddhartha reminds us that enlightenment isn't a destination.
right?
It's a journey,
Yeah.
a process of growth, understanding, and acceptance. It's about letting go of our old ideas, listening to that voice inside us.
In embracing all of life, even the hard parts.
Exactly.
It's not about achieving goals or following strict rules.
It's about finding peace, wisdom, and compassion within ourselves.
I love that. And if there's one question we want our listeners to think about, it's this: what river is calling you? What journey are you meant to take to find your own truth?
It's a good question.
We encourage you to reflect on that, maybe even revisit Siddhartha.
It's a book that keeps giving.
It really is. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep searching, keep exploring, and keep listening to that wisdom all around you.